How a pattern change will influence where the rain will fall in our area next week. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, good to see you again. Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo on this Friday afternoon. Coming up, we're going to talk about this disturbance that's moving through the western Atlantic right now. We still have some pockets of heavy rain across the Greater Antilles. A look island by island at your weekend rain forecast, and then how a big pattern change is going to shift where some of the rain is going to try and fall late next week. So as we get started here, thank you so much again for tuning in, and thank you for hitting that like button. Let's get started. You're looking at your enhanced satellite imagery and our live lightning data on this Friday afternoon. We're going to start in the Greater Antilles, still keeping an eye on pockets of heavy rain. But I can tell you right now, the news has been good out of these areas. There's been no significant flooding issues through Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, the Turks, and the Caicos. We've had some isolated areas of heavy rain. And of course, if you live in these areas, please let us know what you've been seeing in the comments section below. Always love to hear from you guys. Still seeing some convection, some activity through portions of the Turks and the Caicos near Matthewtown. You can see a nice little blow up of a few storms there. You can see the lightning count coming up. But again, it's been isolated enough where we haven't had significant rain in any one location for too long. So still some scattered showers and storms across the Turks and the Caicos and eastern Cuba the remainder of the day. It's been relatively quiet through Hispaniola. We've had some scattered showers and storms, mainly on the eastern tip of the island there, basically across the Mona Passage between the Dominican Republic and western Puerto Rico. So Punta Cana, La Romana, we've had a few storms swipe right across the eastern extent of the island. Santo Domingo has been relatively dry. Some of this deeper moisture is beginning to move into Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, and this is still the area that's going to have the best chance for some showers and storms. Now, earlier in the day, we had a little blow up of storms right over the Virgin Islands. That has now pulled off towards the east. At this point in time, we're starting to see a little bit more moisture surge back into the western sides of Puerto Rico, and you can see that right now. Again, this is our enhanced satellite imagery. This is the lightning. We've picked up a little bit of heavier rain on the southwest side of the island. There actually is a flood advisory near Maracaibo. It doesn't go for very long, and it's only an advisory. They've had about an inch of rain in that area. They could see an additional inch or more. So there could be some flooding of low-lying areas. When I show you the live radar out of Puerto Rico, we'll bring that on for you right now. You can see that rain. It's a little bit clearer here. Again, this is our live radar out of southeast Puerto Rico. And some of that deeper moisture is moving back into the southwest side of the island. So Mayaguez, back down towards San German, on over towards Maracaibo. As I mentioned, those are the areas where we have the flood advisory. But it's not a warning, okay? Still, though, heavier rain could continue to move east across the island the remainder of this Friday and even get back into portions of the Virgin Islands. Again, a little bit heavier rain right now, right there towards Barranquitas and moving off towards the east. It's been relatively quiet in San Juan for today. And again, passing showers will continue. But when I expand this view out, you can see there is some moisture down to the south of the island. Now, all of this is going to be moving up the western sides of the island. We've had a couple of showers around St. Croix this afternoon, but nothing too significant. And again, they've had some heavy rain earlier in the day, and at this time in the late afternoon of this Friday, all is quiet for the eastern islands and then St. Thomas, St. John, and the Tortola areas. But again, I'll be monitoring that situation. If there's one area that's going to get a little bit heavier rain later today, it is going to be Puerto Rico. So back over to the broad view here, going to throw that back on. Some of those showers did drift over portions of the Leeward Islands, but again, at this point in time, I'm not too concerned about any big flood threats. Let's throw on the visible satellite imagery here, going to give us a good idea. Once again, in this area, and there was some morning rain near Anguilla today. For this area, it's going to be localized downpours. So no significant flooding through the Leeward Islands. We're going to try and get you some rain to cool things off. I want you to also notice, again, low-level winds out of the southeast. Our mid-level energy still with that surface trough there right over the western sides of Puerto Rico. When those two combine, you get some of that heavier activity. And again, that's going to be Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. But for Montserrat south towards Guadeloupe and Dominica and Martinique and St. Lucia, certainly the opportunity for a passing shower or two. We'll take a look at your current temperatures as well. I'm going to throw those on for us here, and then we'll take a look at the feels like numbers as well. So those are going to pop on right now. And again, if you see your temperature plummet a little bit, you've had a shower pass through your area. Montserrat has had at least a little shower or two. Barbados has clipped a little bit of rain, but again, nothing is very concentrated, and that's going to be the story here for a while. You get back down towards St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago, and Guyana. Again, you're relatively dry. These are your actual air temperatures. We'll look at your feels like numbers or the heat index coming up in just 1 minute. For the ABC Islands right now, again, we've had a few passing showers, and we just continue to be flirting with more rain. And that's what I'm talking about. Flirting basically means we're really close to getting to the activity, but that deep moisture wants to stay just west of you. If we can get some of this activity off of the mainland to move up to the north, we'll have the opportunity for better showers in that area. But man, it has been just passing downpours at best. But some of you have commented that you've had a little bit of rain in the ABC Islands, and that's good. Limited opportunity for our friends in Jamaica for today. Again, relatively quiet forecast here. Temperatures that will continue to spike up above 90 degrees in our southern zones. Kingston hit 90, and again, just a little bit in the way of an isolated storm there, right in the heart of the island there. And you can see south of Ocho Rios, north of the Kingston area, moving off towards the east, maybe a little shower towards Mandeville. But again, friends, it's going to mainly be a dry forecast in this area. We actually have a fair amount of dry air. When I show you that here in the water vapor imagery, let me expand this view out. You can clearly see all of this red. And when I put this into motion, you're going to see that that drier air just continues to funnel in a little bit deeper. The moisture axis is actually pretty narrow right now, but that stream of moisture is going to continue. There's going to be additional rain coming back in to these areas early next week. We'll talk much more about that coming up. Back over to our temperatures. And again, these are actual air temperatures here. So at the end of the day, we can see what is happening in Honduras and Nicaragua. A lot of areas well above 90 degrees, some in the triple digits. In Belize right now, San Ignacio is at 104. Belmopan is probably about the same. Belize City in at 90. Now, these are air temperatures. The other problem going on in Belize right now, and one of our viewers commented about this, is that there are some significant fires on the southern side of Belize, and the air quality is really bad. Even mentioned how some school kids haven't been able to go to school in about 2 weeks. So it really hits home how the weather is impacting some of you guys, especially in the hot and dry areas. Again, the air temperature in San Ignacio is 104. We'll talk about how this pattern change is going to try and bring some of these areas a better chance for rain late next week, but I don't have much better news in the short term, and we're going to look at the island by island rainfall forecast as well. My friends in the Bahamas enjoying a fair weather day. It's warming up a bit, but it's not bad. Freeport in at 86. Our friends in Nassau right now coming in at 84. Few fair weather clouds we'll throw on the radar here just to double check that we haven't had an isolated storm develop. And at this point in time, we are dry. Now, there's an opportunity that as we get even hotter in the Northwest Bahamas over the weekend, that we could have a few storms, and I'll highlight that coming up. Back over to the broad perspective. Before we look at the feels like numbers, I do want to obviously talk about what's happening now with this system. It's still very weak in nature. There's still a lot of dry air being ingested. There's a few storms near the quote-unquote center of circulation, but again, we've got about a 10% chance for this to develop as it passes to the south and east of Bermuda. For our friends in Bermuda, squally weather is beginning to move in, very breezy conditions as well. We're going to see some winds more than likely in the 20 to 30 mile per hour range, maybe slightly higher if that low can deepen up a little bit. But even at this point in time, Bermuda's not even reporting a wind gust. So limited impacts. It's going to kick up surf and sea conditions a bit. Elsewhere, again, I don't see a lot of wind. The boating conditions for our area look pretty good. Obviously, Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, as these squalls come in, we will certainly see the marine forecast drop a little bit, so keep that in mind over the weekend. And again, we have very strong easterlies in the ABC Islands. Before we get into the forecast, again, I've got to highlight these feels like temperatures because, again, it's a story, especially in the areas that continue to be dry. It's some unbelievable heat for the Yucatan and, again, Belize and Guatemala and Honduras and Nicaragua. So many areas for a very long duration of time. I'm talking about weeks in a row now have had feels like numbers 105, 110. Again, 110 Fahrenheit is 43.3 Celsius. Dangerous conditions here, and we got to get you guys some rain. That's really about the only way to cool things off, and we'll talk much more about that coming up. It's not horrible in the Cayman Islands. I'm sure some of you comment say, Rusty, you're wrong. It's disgusting. It's 97, but at least it's not the triple digits. It does feel like it's 99 right now in Kingston, and again, even the ABC Islands are well above 100 degrees and feels like temperatures. And because it's dried out a bit today through the Leeward Islands, we're seeing some pretty stuffy conditions. So that's the current conditions. And again, here at Meteo Mundo, because I have access to all this information, I always love to talk about what's happening here and now. I want to cover that extensively before we get into the forecast, and we'll do that now. And as I'm doing that, thank you so much for liking this video. If you've been looking for your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, you found your home here at Meteo Mundo. Subscribe. Thank you so much for all of those great comments. And I know some of you have shared this page with your family and friends across YouTube and other social media platforms. And I can't thank you enough for recommending us. That really means a lot to me. All right, let's get into it, guys. Here is what the rainfall is going to look like over the next 5 days. We'll start with this area that's going to be moving to the north and to the east. Again, 10% chance it becomes Alberto. More than likely, it's not going to be. Squally weather for Bermuda for a time over the weekend. How does the rain play out for the remainder of the weekend in the greater Antilles? Well, again, spotty showers will continue the next couple of days here. We're just going to kind of do a broad look at this because, again, you can see that moisture axis on the GFS model picked up pretty well. And again, this is remainder of today through tomorrow. Scattered showers are going to try and stick around. We could see even a redevelopment of a few isolated storms over Hispaniola on Sunday. But again, as I expand this view out, beginning Monday, that moisture plume begins to redevelop and move back in. So it's good that we haven't had a ton of rain in this area over the last 72 hours, over the last 3 days or so, because we're now picking up a better and a wetter signature again early next week. So the same areas that we've been talking about a lot will have to monitor for more heavy rain early next week. This could be easily as far west as Jamaica, including eastern Cuba, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, portions of the northern Leeward Islands, and the ABC Islands as well, where we could use some more rain, and you can see some scattered showers for the Turks of the Caicos. So this is kind of at the tail end of our current pattern. And then when we look at the extended pattern late next week, we'll talk about how this moisture is going to be changing up where it's moving and trying to get some wetter weather for our western areas, which desperately need it. But for Jamaica, again, it's a relatively dry weekend. As we get into Monday and Tuesday, rain chances begin to improve. So get ready for a hot, dry forecast with just a few isolated storms for Kingston, Montego Bay, Savannah Lamar, my friends in Maypen and Mandeville. Again, it gets wetter for Santo Domingo and Punta Cana, Santiago de los Caballeros, Puerto Plata, Lacay, Port-au-Prince, beginning on Monday again here. I'll show you a couple different models, but again, the GFS has handled this relatively well, and I do expect another surge of moisture coming, again, from the mainland to the south, is basically tapping into that same moisture axis that's currently in play, and the scattered showers and the heavier rain will begin to break back out. So it's not a horrible situation that we haven't had a ton of rain here. Obviously, it helps to cut the heat down, but the fact that we haven't had any real flood issues is good because, again, we could be inundated with more widespread rain for the entire Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. You can see how wet it could be here as we get into Sunday, Monday, portions of Tuesday. To our east, it's still going to be more just spotty rain. Anguilla and Antigua and Barbuda and Montserrat and St. Kitts and Nevis and Saba and St. Eustatius and St. Martin, all my friends up here, some downpours to cool us off, no threat for any flooding at least at this point in time. So I think you'll take the rain that you get here because, again, it's going to be pretty spotty in nature. Can't rule out a passing shower almost each afternoon, but it wouldn't shock me if you only get rain maybe 2 out of the next 5 days. Again, you're just not in that highest axis of moisture. That's going to be off towards your west. Same situation for Guadeloupe and Dominica and Martinique. And again, we're going to look at your island by island rainfall forecast coming up. But we're just kind of looking, again, kind of geographically right now. Barbados south, St. Vincent, Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago. Again, isolated rain over the next 5 days, but we could see a little bit more rain coming your way later next week. Now, again, the ABC Islands is an interesting area because we have to take this moisture and move it east, but that's exactly what the GFS is trying to do. And then we have to surge it off the mainland. So we need those two things, conditional things, to come together. But it does look like we continue to put you in an opportunity for some fast moving downpours to go along with your brisk east winds. Look, if you don't get the rain by the afternoon hours, just like you've had the last couple of days, those feels like numbers will be at or above 100 degrees again. And then looking off towards our west, again, still not much to talk about for the Cayman Islands and Belize and Honduras and the Yucatan. Right at the end of this, you start to see this little feature here try and nudge its way west. We'll pick this up coming up here when we look at the forecast for late next week and any potential tropical development. For the Bahamas, again, it's going to be a spotty, isolated storm to come off of the east coast of Florida. I'm going to show you the high resolution model here for the weekend. Of course, it's Memorial Day weekend here in the United States. It's active for our friends of the Bahamas. Again, you can just see that there's enough instability in the atmosphere where there's going to be a few storms popping off in the heat of the day as things warm up. So it's certainly not going to be completely dry for Walker's Key and Freeport, Lucaya, and Marsh Harbor in the Bimini areas here. And you can see those storms will generally be developing north and west and then moving off towards the east. So again, this is tonight. I'll bring it back to now, but again, I don't really expect anything to develop much the remainder of this Friday. But we'll just pick up the model from right where we are right now and then look at the rest of the weekend ahead. And just be prepared for the opportunity for a few storms to develop here again as we get into tomorrow morning. Maybe a few storms near Nassau to even kick off the morning. It's going to be isolated in nature. We'll see if it actually hits the island. Those trying to get towards Eleuthera. This is what I'm talking about here, coming off of the east coast of Florida. And again, does it hold together? Or does it die out right over Bimini? And again, a few more storms trying to nosedive into the northwest Bahamas as we get into later for tomorrow afternoon. So, excuse me, as we get into Sunday afternoon, the 26th. Today is the 24th, right? Yes, today is the 24th. You got it. So most of the weekend right there on our high resolution model. So Sunday afternoon could be relatively active. So let's break down the island by island forecast, rain chance in your area the next 3 days. Jamaica, just 20% chance for showers today and tomorrow, 30% chance on Sunday. Again, Bahamas should mainly be dry for today, 30% chance Saturday, 20% chance on Sunday. But where the storms do develop, they could be stronger again. Heavy rainfall, lightning, can't even rule out some smaller hail. I'll be monitoring that. Turks and Caicos, relatively quiet in the next few days. The Dominican Republic, again, isolated storms today and tomorrow, 40% chance on Sunday. Then rain chances go higher than that Monday and Tuesday. Cayman Islands and Belize can't do much for your rain, at least as of yet. Same thing for Cancun and Cozumel. Puerto Rico, still a 50% chance for showers the remainder of today. 40 Saturday, Sunday, going back up again on Monday. U.S. and British Virgin Islands, basically a category below Puerto Rico. 40 to a 30% chance. Your rain chances will again go higher beginning early next week. Scattered showers across Antigua and Barbuda. Martinique, a 30% chance for showers over the weekend as well. Barbados, pretty isolated. Nudge your rain chance up a little bit on Sunday. Same thing for our friends in Trinidad and Tobago. But again, don't expect a ton of rain in these areas. And then the ABC Islands, again, as that moisture tries to sneak off towards the east, trying to get you a little bit better chance for a few showers and storms then. Okay, back over to the big perspective. I'm going to take off our tropical storm formation because we're going to get into now what's going to be happening by the end of next week. It's going to take me 1 second to set up the model. So again, if you've yet to hit the subscribe button, do that. If you would like to like this video, again, that significantly helps out the channel. Thank you very much for doing so. So we're going to have kind of a big pattern change in the Caribbean coming in late next week. We're going to try and take some of the moisture that's been surging north into the greater Antilles, and we're going to try and push it a little bit farther off towards the west. Now, it's still going to be something that takes some time to develop. So if you have been dry in these areas, you need to consider yourselves to have a dry forecast at least over the next 7 days. But as we get towards the end of next week here, you can take a look at trying to just get a little bit more moisture farther off towards the west. Now, there still is a question, okay, whether it can get as far northwest as Roatan and San Pedro Sula and Belize City and Cancun, but we're starting to shift this a little bit more west, just a little bit. You can see the coastline of Nicaragua and Honduras with some rain, and this is kind of still a developing situation, but over the last few model runs, the GFS, I've noticed this trend, okay? And I also want you to notice there's a little kink in everything right here. I think this is the next system we have to watch out for, especially if it can develop in the Southwest Caribbean where there's going to be pretty limited wind shear. We're here, friends. Late May, early June, we're getting into our active weather time here, and we're starting to see some of that bubble up in some of the longer range models. I'm going to show you the European model coming up as well. Again, you're looking at the GFS looping. The European model is very active along this 10-degree north latitude line. We do have, there actually is a tropical wave out here, but it's running into absolutely dry air. But we will start to see more moisture surge south and east of Trinidad here, and then trying to move up. But you can just see how active overall this latitude line that runs east to west is going to be. And so that's where we could see more certainly heavy showers and storms try to lift to the north, but also the opportunity maybe for our next area of interest, our next tropical disturbance as well. I'm going to show you the surface winds on this model. Give me just 1 second to find those. And I'm going to loop those up, and we're going to take a look at the winds in the Southwest Caribbean here as we get towards the end of the period. So again, I've already mentioned how we're going to continue to see pretty persistent strong winds over the ABC Islands. As we get towards the end of this period here, look right about here, just a little kink in things. It was actually a little bit more prominent the last model run that I saw, but again, that's an area to monitor, especially if the winds could be a little bit lighter and we don't have a lot of shear in that area. When we look at wind gusts, if I put that into motion, it'll tell you a little bit different story here again. Look back into this area, but the biggest story is trying to take this moisture down here and push it west into the areas that have been exceptionally dry. Again, it is going to be a process. I don't see anything happening until at least the end of next week. It might even be early June. I'm just trying to, I don't want to give your hopes up, but I do see a pattern change to try and get you some rain and some cooler air. And again, even on this last model run of the GFS, compared to what I looked at earlier today before I came on the air, I don't see as much of a kink or much of a twist here, but a disturbance of some kind could come along with all of that moisture. So I'm going to show you the rainfall out of the European model. This is zoomed in to the Yucatan and Central America, the Cayman Islands you can see as well. So what you're looking at, now look, this is 2 full weeks out. So from right now on this Friday until basically next Friday night, that's 0Z Saturday, when we're looking at weather terms here as far as time goes. So basically 2 full weeks. This is rainfall in millimeters. You can start to see that portions of especially Nicaragua up towards coastal Honduras start to get more of that rain, maybe 150, 180 millimeters of rain. That's significant. And then it just gets drier north and west. But look, even Guatemala and Belize and Roatan and even the Yucatan and the Cayman Islands start to at least get some rain, 25, 50 millimeters, trying to break the pattern of just the persistently dry weather that's currently in place. So again, I showed you the GFS. The European also surges some of that moisture north and west as well. It's going to take some time, though, for it to happen. Now, the other interesting thing is, again, this is the GFS model. We're not really seeing too much formation here tropically, but I've shown you this graphic the last couple of days, and the European model is right back to a pretty high chance of a tropical depression trying to develop off of South America into the Southwest Caribbean late May and then into early June. Kind of the beginnings of it developing right towards the end of May and then the first couple of days of June. Now we're up to about a 50-60% chance. And again, just very active here on that 10-degree north line. If I take myself off camera, you look towards Trinidad and Tobago, I'll put myself back on camera, and you can just see here, it even has right there another little spot. It just shows you that we're back into just a much more unstable pattern. And again, we're going to be in early June, guys. This is the time of the year. The sea surface temperatures are outrageous. The wind shear is getting lower and lower with La Nina. We're going to be talking more about these disturbances, probably developing in much quicker fashions and just being much more common as we get through the end of May and into early June. And obviously for some of us, that's going to try and bring us some beneficial rain. Friends, you know you can find us through all social media. Thank you for finding us on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. You have a question for me, mymeteomundo@gmail.com. Any business interest, you want to send me a picture or video? Of course, I'd love to hear from you right here on our YouTube channel. So if you have a specific question about the forecast, just drop it in the comments section below. While you're there, please like and subscribe. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, friends. You have a great rest of your Friday, and I will see you soon with the latest right here at Meteo Mundo.